Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the World Championship Series Europe Premier League as we rapidly approach the conclusion of the round of 32.
That's right, it's been a good and fun couple of weeks now, but only one day, one group remaining. We have 14 players who have already made it through to the round of 16, and so far quite balanced. 6 Protoss players, 4 Terran, and 4 Zerg. And now it's time to pick up our last 2 players.
Yep, let's take a look at all of the 14 that have already advanced on, along with those ones that have been unfortunately eliminated here, as we only have one group left.
Yeah, only one group left. And as you can see, the players that advanced through, really well balanced. And it's a good set of players. You've got some really, really big names. You've got some players that are looking to do well for the first time in the round of 16, such as Bling. And, you've got repeat offenders from the round of 16. Just an all-round great group if you look through all that. But now, with our final group of the day, who is the 2 players that will join these fantastic 14?
Yeah, one thing's for sure, this is going to be one of the best round of 16s that we've had in quite a while. But here is Group H, as we have MMA, Wellmu, Starbuck, and NightEnD. And why don't we start with a champion whose accolades include a Premier Championship across all 3 major regions, a player whose resurgence saw him claim his rightful position back at the top in 2013. It is MMA.
Yeah, overall, MMA has got 6 StarCraft 2 championships to his name. This guy is just a player that stands out heads and shoulders above the rest coming into today's group. And as you mentioned, is the current reigning European champion. But if we look back over the seasons, every single champion that goes into the next season doesn't do as well, of course, and sometimes gets eliminated rather fast. We'll see how well MMA is going to do today. But one thing to note with MMA, he's a player that's been at the highest of the highest. He's been at the top. He's also been at the bottom. He's been at the bottom of the barrel. And one thing that makes him really, really stand out for me is that he climbed his way back to where he begun in the first place with a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, and it was a massive, massive climb for him back to winning that Season 3 last year. And it was good to see him back where he belongs.
That's certainly true. He could be the herald of doom for the other 3 players here in this group, as we have our second player, Protoss, who made a brilliant splash during WCS, a platform that allowed him to prove his worth in spades as he exhibited amazing builds and execution in the end. An all-rounder, it's Wellmu.
Yeah, Wellmu for me. I'll put myself out there and say throughout 2013, having a bit of tasteless syndrome here, can't get my words out. I became a fan of Wellmu. I loved his playstyle, his PvP excellence, his understanding of how Protoss works inside and out. And sometimes when I watched him play, I was like, this guy is playing on a Korean level. He didn't get the massive set of results that a Korean player would, but in Season 2 last year with his 5th and 6th place finish, and also representing the Europe region at the Season 2 finals, that was just a massive season for him. Coming into 2014, though, before that, he's had health problems. He's a player that's had a lot of health problems. He's still a full-time student, remember, in the University of, wait a minute, Tampere.
Near enough.
Tampere, the city in Finland. So he's still a full-time student, but overall, I'm expecting good things from him today. He's on form, he's feeling so confident, and he cannot wait to get into this group.
Third, we have a youngster of the group, but don't let that fool you guys, because this Zerg managed to inject himself into the WCS in 2013 fantastically, with innovative and unconventional style, becoming a big threat in the European scene. It's Starbuck.
Yeah, well, he made a massive name for himself last season. He was a player that, very similar, but in a very different way to MMA, was at the bottom and went through qualifiers to get into Challenger, played in Challenger himself, and then by the end of the season in 2013, was in the Premier League and even made it to the round of 16 where he played live in the Cologne studios. He's a very polite, a very awesome individual. Yeah. Just 17 years of age, and he's got a massive following behind him. He's got an entire country support behind him in Slovenia today. And guess what? They've got a Barcraft running today as well for these games. So shout out to you guys who are watching from that Barcraft, and we'll see if he can repeat the success of Season 3 last year.
And finally, we have a true European veteran standing strong against the test of time and recently joining NRS after leaving Fnatic. This Protoss looks to accomplish large goals in his first WCS Premier appearance. It's NightEnD.
Yeah, NightEnD for me has definitely been a former top European Protoss player. But in 2013, well, let's just look at it in this way. It's his first time in Premier League. Yeah. That kind of just explains his story throughout 2013. He's a player that for a lot of people like me today is probably saying, oh, cool, it's good to see NightEnD back in the scene again. But he never left. He was there throughout 2013. He tried to qualify every season for WCS, only making it to Challenger in Season 3. He just wasn't quite getting the results. He told me today that he wasn't sure what was going wrong for him, but he's happy that he's got a fresh start and wants a fresh start with his new team, Neurosoft, and is looking to actually continue on here. Even though when he left Fnatic not too long ago, about a month ago, there was a lot of doubt whether he'd even continue on in StarCraft, but he assured me today he is staying in StarCraft for a lot longer than this year, the next year, and the year after that. He is here for a long time, and hopefully 2014 is that fresh year that he wants.
Hopefully so. Like meeting NightEnD at these events. He's always a very happy chap. But now that brings us neatly on to the structure for today, and let's find out exactly how the games are going to unfold.
All right, the Lollipop Lady is ready for us to cross the road together. Hold my hand and do it one more time. The last time in the round of 32, and I suppose I might do it again in the round of 16 for you. But here we are, the bracket. And if you didn't know how it works, it's a very simple system. It's a double elimination bracket, 4 players, obviously. We are going to have MMA versus NightEnD to kick off the night, and then Starbuck versus Wellmu in the second game. The winners of those will play up against each other in the upper bracket. The winner of that moves on in first place. The losers of the initial games will fall down to the lower bracket. They will have to face off against each other, and they will play the loser of the winner game. The winner of that goes through in second place.
Fair dues, fair dues. And that brings us on to our first game of the day, as we open things up with MMA versus NightEnD. And as I said before, a herald of doom in MMA who is looking at this group and saying, this is my stepping stone, man.
Yeah, the MMA is looking at this group saying, I'm sorry, you guys are fantastic people, but I'm going to win this group, and I'm going to win the entire tournament because he's on form, he's looking good, he's confident, he's been posting pictures of himself all day on Twitter. It's just kind of showing how he's ready and how he wants your support through today's games. But one thing that NightEnD has always had that's been very consistent throughout all of his StarCraft 2 career is a very good Protoss versus Terran.
It's true.
I remember one DreamHack tournament where he even beat Tasia, and everyone was like, oh, what?
I remember
How did that happen? It was like some DreamHack winter or summer event, and everyone was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And he was one of the first players that started to switch away from the Colossus style into the High Templar, and had a very successful time. It was around the same time that Rain started to become very popular with his defense's overall strategy versus Terran, and that's when NightEnD was able to pick up that win. But you have to look at this and say this is only, as you say, a stepping stone for MMA looking to go into the winner's match and above.
I think in the end, when MMA came into this group, he checked his weather forecast this morning and he was like, all right, it's going to be sunny. I think I'll be able to avoid all of those storms and be able to just transition on. We'll see.
It's sunny in Germany right now, so...
Yeah, I'm actually surprised by that, but
and
there you go.
That's one thing to point out as well, that he is playing from Europe, unlike some of the other Koreans who, some have failed and some gods out there have passed no matter what difficulties are ahead of them. MMA is playing from Europe anyway, so it's no problem. He's in the Acer house right now and is getting optimal playing conditions. And as mentioned, on all his tweets and pictures today, he looks very happy and looks very much so in a good mood to play his games today. So I'm expecting nothing less than his play style, which is to drive his opponents crazy. That's
certainly true. MMA here looking as the favorite of the group. NightEnD has a bit of a tall order ahead of him as we get into this first series. But before we do, we also have our other 2 players. We have Starbuck and Wellmu. I am looking forward to that series in terms of how much that brings. Starbuck always brings some craziness to the table. Yep. And then Wellmu looked so strong and so potent through the past couple of seasons of WCS Europe. If you had to peg like who is going to actually succeed here, I mean, obviously MMA is a really good choice. There's that first one, but who else are you looking out for here?
MMA is no doubt in my mind going through in first place, I would like to think, followed by Wellmu today. That's what I'm thinking. I think Starbuck definitely has an opportunity to upset that pattern.
Yeah.
NightEnD, he's here to prove that he's willing to, move on. So I think it's safe to say that NightEnD, for a lot of people, isn't expected to move through. But that's what he's here to do, to prove people wrong, because he hasn't really been at this level for a long time. So it'll be good to see that. But I think that if Wellmu was to meet if Starbuck was to meet MMA, that's a game I want to see today. But I'm not sure it's going to happen. Because that would require, because I really think that MMA is going to do well in this first game, and that would require Starbuck to beat Wellmu, which I think, even though as crazy as Starbuck is with all his unorthodox strategies and how crazy he approaches the matchup, especially against Protoss, I don't think he can beat Wellmu. But, I mean, we've seen upsets day in and day out within the Europe Premier League. So anything's possible, but that's the way I would do it. MMA first, followed by Wellmu, Starbuck, and then NightEnD.
Yeah, I think you've really hit the nail on the head. If we were to see something like MMA Starbuck, that would be pretty awesome to kind of look at and see how Starbuck has prepared for his very strong Terran opponent. But all these Protoss do stand in his way. Which
I mean, remember that Starbuck lost to MMA in Season 3 in the round of 16. Starbuck also beat Lucifron to make it into the round of 16 in the first place, and he also beat Hero Marine 3-1 in Challenger League. So I have no doubt that Starbuck would give a good game against MMA today. But are we even going to see that match?
And the match that we saw from Starbuck during the Challenger League was one of my most anticipated matches of youngster against youngster Marine. A lot of people touting him as one of those strong proponents to go through into WCS as well. Didn't quite make it, as Starbuck did put a wrench in that work. And then for now, he is here. He is looking to impress.
All right, so you think along the same lines as me, MMA is going to take this first game against NightEnD?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be difficult for NightEnD. We can't, completely take his chances out of it. Obviously, this has been the one match alone that he has absolutely known that he's had to prepare for. He's known that he's had to play against MMA for quite a while. It's the last group of the round of 32, so he's had a good span of time to prepare for it, but he's going to have to bring something special.
Yeah, that's the one advantage that he has come into this group, is that nobody really knows what to expect from NightEnD today, whether it be a round of 16 level performance or whether it be just a Challenger League performance. Nobody really knows, which is an advantage for sure. But I'm looking forward to seeing what MMA is going to do. We've seen a massive increase in Widowmine production throughout all Terran versus Protoss games with the recent change to the Widowmines, which do more damage to shields now, on a scale that is. And I think we're going to see some today, because I know for a fact, because he messaged me today on Skype, MMA, is that he was watching the games with Moru earlier in GSL because he's in Germany, he's on the right time zone, he was watching the games. So, and he was very impressed with the way that Moru was playing, so I'm quite sure that there's going to be a bit of influence coming through that today.
It's such a good playstyle. If you see those Widowmines, it slows the pace down for a Protoss going into engagements really hard. You micro back into those. You can't just start chasing with all of your zealots. I know this all too well. It's very annoying. So yeah, it really does slow it down. It slows down the pace, and you've got to be a bit more strategic about how you're going to position your army. We actually even saw during that there was a small reaction by Dia, I think it was to Dia today, who was actually splitting off one or two zealots going forwards on heavy rain to try and go into those Widowmines, which is a really good tactic if you can get them to trigger, and if the Marauders don't kill them instantly before they actually get into that position. So anyway, let's get into our first game of the day here, as we have Ultrazeem's Stronghold, our map for the first game. What a map to kick it off. And spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner, our blue Protoss representing Neurosoft. It is NightEnD. And up to the top right-hand corner, we have our red Terran representing Team Acer. It's MMA.
I'm so excited for today's games. I'm really excited for these ones. It's a really good group, and I wouldn't be unhappy. Okay, all right. That's a lie.
All right.
I would be a little bit unhappy if MMA didn't go through, but I don't care who follows him, to be honest, because I'd love to see NightEnD come back and start to deliver performances that he gave through 2011, 2012. 2013 was definitely a rocky year for him. And I would love to see Starbuck come through, and Wellmu is a personal favorite, so I don't care as long as MMA goes through. And the reason for that is because, of course, he's the European champion. He's got a fantastic playstyle. I want to see players get dizzy with his medivacs. I want to see that. And I also, more importantly, want to see MMA versus MVP. More so than anything.
Ooh.
More so than anything in the round of 16 and above. And actually, I don't want to see it in the round of 16. I want to see it above that. I want to see MMA versus MVP.
That'd be kind of cool.
Well, that would be disrespectful to MC, wouldn't it? But
that would.
It would be nice. It would be nice, but
then again, MC wouldn't want to get second for a third time.
That's right.
Okay, so anyway, but you're right. You actually mentioned a really cool thing, which is an opponent getting dizzy with medevacs. And on a map like this, Ultrazeem Stronghold, that can certainly be the case. And to that point, does NightEnD now try and deter something like that from happening? Does he open up with, say, like a Stargate player or something like that off the back of a Nexus? I would love to see something like that come out from NightEnD.
On a map this big, a common build that we've seen quite a bit recently is the Oracle. After after expansion, that is, of course, into 3 Nexus really early on. That's a build that we've seen quite commonly recently against Terran players, hiding that information away, getting a massive boost in economy, and then being ready at the 10 to 11 minute mark, depending on how much damage the Oracle does, for the Terran standard movement out. We'll see if NightEnD decides to do something like that, but as mentioned before, we have no idea what NightEnd's going to do today. Traditionally, he's a very macro-focused player. He does play a defensive style, but throws in a couple of all-ins here and there. And on a map this size, I'm feeling this one, that NightEnD could give us a good performance for sure. I mean, he's already opened up 1 gateway, 1 gas, Nexus down, whereas MMA, on the other hand, regular Reaper expansion.
Yeah, it's certainly a good map for him to have a good chance to get into the later stages of the game here, if he's able to deal with the dizzying heights of what MMA could throw at him, which can be a little bit of a predicament, but we'll see how NightEnd's going to have to deal with that. For now, just standard as standard can be. Mothership Core going to be on the way as well, and placing pylons on the extremities of his bases just to be able to spot something like a drop if it were to come along later on.
NightEnD with a late scout here is going to send a probe to the top left. He's not really looking for information on what MMA's build is. More importantly, he doesn't care what MMA's build is. With a probe scout this late, you're never going to get any information. So what he's looking to do is basically find out where his opponent is. Does this mean that he wants to go for already a pre-planned Stargate or pre-planned certain build to find out where his opponent is, so he knows in which direction to send his units? But we do have MMA. Sneaky, sneaky Reaper.
Yeah, hasn't been spotted at all. That Mothership Core was starting to work on the rocks at the ramp. So
and look, he's hiding it too. That's really smart, knowing it hasn't been spotted. He'll go in at the right time when tech is going to be thrown down, which is perfect here. It's going to be a robotics facility, which is the standard approach to this matchup, to, of course, aim up for the observers, in case it's factory play, which we do see in this case, to aim up towards Colossus potentially. But MMA, if he gets this Reaper off, which it still is completely in the dark, then he gets a free scout here.
This is very nice, and he's going to head on straight in and have a look around. The Mothership Core did come down to this location, so it should be able to save the probes, aside from one that does end up falling.
He best get a scout with this. If he doesn't get a scout with this after trying to go for a probe, I'd be kind of sad. But he sees the Forge.
And you should see the Robo.
Sees the Robo. Okay, so seeing the Robo and the Forge there, perfect scout. The Reaper's done its job, and it can rest in peace at this point, because now that means that MMA doesn't need to scan, which is, of course, more mules going to his economy. But he's going to dedicate to a Widowmine drop anyway here, by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Only a single one, though. And then we imagine that we'd be seeing double barracks following this up. But as I say, that's a 3rd command center here. So I was going to say double barracks is the usual follow-up here, with adding on tech labs to the factory and starport to go to Stim. But he's not doing that. He's actually going to go for a 3rd command center. And the reason why he's gone for this is he's seen his opponent isn't going Stargate, isn't going for an Oracle, therefore, isn't going for Phoenixes, isn't going for a Twilight Council for DT or Blink, knows it's going to be a defensive, robotic-style play. He's going to try and get away with the 3rd command center. He's going to delay his Stim. He's going to delay his units. Going to delay his production. But overall, I think he's going to get away with this.
Yeah, I think so too. Best opportunity for him too, considering the spawning positions and everything that NightEnd's now doing. He's going to send those observers over there, and eventually they will spot out what his opponent's up to, unless they randomly ran into a missile turret or something like that. But for now, all the observers are currently not at home, so he has to be careful.
If this hits, with the Widowmine change that happened just a few days ago, the splash damage of probes, or splash damage from the Widowmine of probes, actually one-shots them now. So instead of getting a couple of kills and damage overall, he can get up to 5 to 6 kills very easily if this lands correctly.
There's the reaction, and there is an observer right there to be able to help that out, so he shouldn't be able to get a whole lot.
Nope, just one.
Probe.
Oh, he doesn't even let... Yeah, nice. He actually moves it there.
And that does deny a little bit more time here from the probes to get back there.
Yeah, just one. Tries to get out there with the medevac, but... That's good. That's a good reaction there from NightEnD. And if that had happened with the 3rd command center behind this, yeah, well, you'd be in trouble.
Yep.
NightEnd's observer hasn't really spotted anything until just now, because he wasn't looking. He was focusing on the drop. So inside the main base, he's going to have a look now, and he's going to be like, wait a minute, is that barracks been added on? Wait a minute. Oh, 3rd command center. Oh, you cheeky devil. And what I would imagine is that it's very difficult to punish from this position, obviously, because you're only on 3 gateways. He would have to be looking to take a 3rd base pretty fast. Otherwise, he's going to fall dramatically far behind in the economy. There's no way he can go for an attack.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, NightEnD has gone for, pretty quick Colossus in this game, which is not his normal go-to. Of course, with that Robo opening, it has allowed that to come out, and it will hold him pretty sturdy. But again, he has to be so careful about keeping eyes on the perimeter of his bases, because once these drops start from MMA, they're not going to stop. stop.
Yeah. NightEnD is going to go take his third base now, which is the perfect response to seeing the third command center, and this will be a longer game. But as you pointed out, MMA's now going to start to take some advantages in this game with his drops. He's got 2 medivacs headed towards the back, but there is a cannon. There is not Blink or any really units there. So if you think about this, this is 3 gateways with a single or double Colossus, I think it's single right now, into a third base. Not a lot of protection here.
Well, he is going to... Wait, does he actually spot this? It's a good perimeter, so he should be able to spot that. Interestingly enough, before it went into vision of these observers, he did drop 1 Marine, but now NightEnD must be like, well, why is that Marine coming out from that location? So he has to be a little bit careful and a little bit wary as to what's going on. Spots it now.
He doesn't really have too many units back there, Kalaris. Photon Overcharge and 1 Stalker should be enough to push this away, but yeah, now he's going to start to feel in, oh, okay, I've got to be careful here. I need to be adding on the... Well, he's about to have 3 gateways add up here. Blink is being chrono boosted out quite fast, so he's going to use that too. But MMA shouldn't really be able to get too much damage done here. With a cannon in each mineral line, 6 gateways now, and double Colossus. MMA is going to have a very hard time breaking this. But he started his Viking production very early in this game. After just 3 medivacs, he's already to 4 Vikings.
Yeah, that poke forwards with the 1 Marine to spot the third, and also that Colossus in turn was a really good small little maneuver there by MMA that's orchestrated very nicely to be able to just read into what his opponent's up to. And then from there on out, he's just reacting accordingly, even adding on the second starport. So this is good.
He scans in the middle of the main base of NightEnD, looking for the Templar Archives to see when it's going to be thrown down. Unfortunately, is a few seconds away from spotting it. As we see now, it's just now been added on. With going up to double starports here, he definitely is going to be looking to hit an attack before the Templar Archives is ideally done. But he doesn't really know when it's coming down. But he did see Chrono Boost still in the Robotics Facility and Robotics Bay, which would kind of suggest that he's still looking at playing. Wait a minute, that's double starport.
Whoa, that is a lot of starports.
He just added on 2, right?
Yeah.
So he's gone up to 3?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, wow, okay.
I'm quite surprised by this.
Wow. I'm not. This is not something we see very often from Terran players.
Unless he's just going to build Vikings out of all of them.
There's a big blink there.
Oh, nice.
Double medivacs, and he's going to kill all these units. That's a nice pick off there for NightEnD. But there's also a trap as he returns back. An observer, though, does see it. Yeah,
he knows about a few of those units. They all stimmed up, actually, just there.
There are 6 Vikings, though, remember.
Yeah, got to be careful about this.
If NightEnD can't get away...
set up a concave to greet this army as it does come down the ramp, and he will actually catch one of those Colossi very, very quickly. Second one's going to fall to Marauders and Marines alone. So that's a nice pickup there from MMA. Behind this, his macro should be able to flourish, and if he can get that last Colossus resetting the count, that's a very nice pickup for MMA.
That's a beautiful pickoff for MMA, and even though he lost double medivac's worth of Marines there to the drop, he got a counter in.
Yeah.
He got a counter in. He picked off every single... Colossus.
Exactly. Resetting that count is a fantastic position here for the Terran, who now is feeling pretty comfortable and relaxed. I mean, now with the triple starport that he has... I
still think that's weird. It should just be 2 with a reactor at this point. I mean, if you look at it, it's the exact same production he would have had with a reactor. I'm not too sure what that's about. But he's going to go in because he's obviously was looking to add on that additional second starport quite early on. He's looking to do damage before Templar Archives is really useful in this game. With already picking off 3 Colossus... there's definitely, absolutely an opportunity to come in and do more. There's no Storm ready. There's only 3 Templar.
It's a very, very small army in general here for NightEnD. He only has 14 Zealots to his name, so he has to be very careful.
They do have charge, which is nice, but still...
Yeah, they do.
That MMA's control is always fantastic.
But they only have +1 armor, so this is a brilliant time for him to be really hitting. Equal upgrades. He kills off the Colossus very fast, and all he has to do really now is try and micro back against this. They are closing the gap, though, those Zealots. Here come the reinforcements, though, for MMA, trying to press on once again here at the third.
Look at the minimap. Just look at the stream of units from MMA.
He needs to catch that 1 Colossus once again, though. Storm is also now finished, so MMA has to be very, very careful about how he positions himself. Those Vikings take a lot of damage to that Storm, and don't even kill the Colossus off before he actually is able to fall back.
Yeah, NightEnD doesn't want to overextend here. I mean, this is really good for him, but remember, there's a stream of units. He's running out of power here, and like this, he's starting to lose Stalkers. He's going to lose that Archon. Needs to fall back and needs to keep warping in units. He's got a lot of gateways. He needs to warp in a big round. There's 10 Zealots.
And also +2 weapons finish for both players, technically, during all of that. But with the lack of gateway units that we saw there at the front from NightEnD, he was always getting closer to those reinforcements from MMA.
Oh, a big drop from MMA coming around the right-hand side now. 3 medivacs worth. There is an Observer, which would technically give NightEnD a heads up, but I think he's going to warp in another round before onto the natural, you'd imagine. Yeah, there's 4 High Templar. Still allows him up to about 6 gateways, 5 gateways still active.
Double prong push if he actually goes down to that 4th and reveals that it is there. This could be very, very devastating for NightEnD, who's on a low army supply, so he can't really afford to be splitting his army up so easily. This is a big, big drop. Killing off that cannon could quite easily try and focus down that Nexus, but he's just going to go for the Zealots that are warping in. Very, very good move here to just try and limit those where he can. The one Colossus comes to reinforce. But I don't... Oh, it's going to be so close. He has to micro that back.
And now he's got to defend his 3rd base. There's 2 Storms available with that small little army. There is a Photon Overcharge as well, and that's a good kind of, you know, push away storm. It didn't really get that much damage.
It was a very good greeting storm, at least, as he was preempting his opponent, actually hitting him on multiple fronts. And now this drop still gets pushed back. NightEnD not doing too badly here.
Yeah, NightEnD just needs to keep surviving and defending till his supply count reaches much higher than 130. But it's going to be difficult, obviously.
Another drop on the back, but does get stormed away. But at the same time, another army going to push him from both north and east and try and just bring down what they can. The Mothership Core does end up falling, but Photon Overcharge still active on this. A lot of Zealots charging from the north to try and push this away. And the 2 Colossi are going uncontested. These Vikings aren't really doing the job.
It's a good defense. This is a good defense from NightEnD.
Yeah.
It's a really good defense there. Keeping Colossus production and High Templar production, picking off the Medivacs with his Sphinx Stalkers. And now, once again, he needs to go back and keep defending and keep rising his supply. He's got a 4th Nexus up and running, and he should start to use that. And remember, he's still got these double Forge. Just keep on defending. Get to the 200 supply mark. Remember, that's where every Protoss, or should I say every Terran, starts to go roar. And especially because there's no Ghost Academy too. The bigger the army gets, the more difficult it's going to be for MMA to combat it. It's a good defense there from NightEnD. And being able to keep up with MMA is no easy feat.
And one of the ways he's been able to do that is just fire all of these observers, keeping an eye on the middle of the map, on the sides of the map. He already saw these 3 Medivacs down to the bottom right with that observer in the middle. So if he's been keeping tabs on it, he should be able to prepare accordingly. He already has Zealots and High Templars there.
There's 6 Zealots and a Storm, so that should be enough against this. And with additional warpins, he should be fine to defend that. And he's also warping in a couple of more units towards his 4th base as well to protect that too. So overall, this is good. He's got 160 supply. Narrowed it up, just a 20 supply difference now.
It's really good.
This is really, really good from NightEnD. He's playing, as we all know and expected, a good Protoss versus Terran here. He's kind of will spot this. Maybe. He's not reacting right now.
That one Medivac would die to a feedback, so he has to be careful.
Yeah. All right, well, the next attack's coming in. Still no Ghosts, remember. It's just a lot of Vikings, but there's only 2 Colossus, a 3rd one about to pop out, and there are 3 High Templars with the main army. There's 2 High Templars on the 4th. It's going to be now for MMA to just make a massive arc, a flat line.
Yeah.
2 by 2.
Oddly enough, this NightEnd's army size didn't really rise up in the past 1 or 2 minutes. It's only just started once again, so he's still, you know, around 20 supply behind in terms of an army. But still, his quality of army is going to be very good if Storms are able to land.
And he's at 3-3 now too, remember.
Yeah.
All right, Observer sees this army. 1 scan just barely missed it. He's going to come in with a couple of Storms straight away. And MMA does dodge.
Any damage you can do to Vikings is great here.
Yeah.
Any damage. Because right now it's only, well, it is 11 Vikings.
He's not maxed out, though. You just want to warp in. I'd probably suggest another round of Zealots. Who doesn't like Zealots against no Ghosts here? So just warp in, max out on Zealots. There's 1,000 minerals in the bank.
No Ghosts, no Widow Mines, no nothing for him to really control that kind of torrent of aggression that would come from those amount of Zealots, as he now has another Colossus to add on to this.
He's ready.
Vikings are in a really good position on this right-hand side, just above that lip of that terrain, and the army's going to come from all sides, but all the Colossi are going to fall very, very quickly. MMA has orchestrated this attack beautifully, but at the same time, on the northern flank, he is losing quite a lot.
Where's the additional warpins?
He needs a few more, and there are only 4 Zealots warping in. He needs more than that. These Vikings landing is providing extra ample firepower for MMA.
Yeah, and his gateway count's only at 10. Definitely could be higher with the resources he have in the bank, and through that, and the good attack that MMA delivered just there.
Yeah.
I think MMA may have cracked the Romanian.
It was a very, very good assault. Really, really well planned out in terms of the positioning. And then from there on, NightEnD hasn't exactly got the best of positions right now. He's now having to protect his 4th as best he can do. A big pickup there from MMA to retreat out. But behind that, his economy is also looking pretty good.
Oh, his macro is fantastic in this game. MMA's, his 4th base is up and running. He's got another command center next to it, which will be an orbital for extra scans and mules, depending on the scenario he's thrown into. He's got another 2 orbital commands on his 3rd and another one next to that as well. And then on top of that, he's got a 5th base to the far left. So beautifully set up when it comes to macro. And he's now going to go in again. Remember, at this point, yes, Protoss is on 4 bases, but he's got to be thinking about a 5th himself. His natural must be near completion.
And lots of Chrono Boost into this production facilities, but I would love to see if NightEnD added on a second Robo facility. After resetting a lot of the Viking count like that, it would be nice, but that being said, we have to factor in the fact that MMA had 3 starports from very early on, so if he got whiff of that, he'd be able to counteract it pretty well.
Yeah, and I think he's just focusing on a very high shield and high Templar play because of the lack of ghosts in this game. There is a drop to the left-hand side, though. If they pick off that 4th...
And they might be able to. Actually, that's a lot of warping, so he should be able to buy himself time to push that away. They're actually just going to focus down on it without even killing the Zealots, and they're going to get it. Wow, nice snipe out there. And meanwhile, down to the bottom right-hand corner as well, MMA is making him dizzy, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye indeed.
Bye-bye. Uh-oh, what did I miss? I missed something, I'm sorry. But we were watching drops. Okay, so that was... NightEnD now has a pretty substantial army compared to what we're seeing here. The ghosts are coming in, but there's only 4 of them. These 3 ghosts at the front are very vulnerable if he loses those. Oh, in fact, there's 4 there. Picks them up. Yeah, get out there.
Looks like he's just going to bunker behind a couple of these. He's actually turning one of the command centers into a planetary fortress, but through there, he's going to tunnel through. There's a lot of ghosts, EMPs. This army can't break through.
Oh, especially if his Zealots engage before the Colossi and Mothership Core are even there. That was a little bit of a nightmare. Doesn't want to be doing that.
Scans the army, and it does actually recall back. There you go, it's gone.
God damn.
Don't know which Nexus it went to either, inside the main base. But through all of this, we've lost the base of NightEnD. He's not mining in his main base, and he lost the 4th too, right? So he doesn't have the same income that MMA has. If you look at the income tab, whew, it's a big difference.
That's very nice. I think MMA is feeling quite happy. Especially after the sniping out 2 Nexi. That's pretty good. This one's going to start rebuilding. He's not rebuilding his natural one because there's not really a huge amount of point. Of course, there is minerals there that's quite nice, but if he's looking to expand anywhere else, it would certainly be up to the more sustainable bases.
Well, there is 3 Vikings with this army. It's not a lot. With good EMPs, I think it won't matter as much. There's a lot of Marauders. If he spreads thin, maybe he can just get through the Gateway army and then find the Colossus, but... this is still not too bad for NightEnD with double Colossus in that mix.
Sees a lot of those probes moving and doing the long-distance mining, so he knows how much economical damage he's done to him, knowing that that Nexus is still not fully fledged, and he's going to try and drop over there once again. As he did know his opponent's positioning of army, so this is a very, very good move after that scan.
Just scans. He's got orbitals everywhere. I mean, this is just this dream scenario for a Terran player. Orbitals everywhere. Decent-sized army. Protoss player still on the original 4 bases that he's had throughout all of the game. It's pretty good.
Don't know how I keep doing that. But there we go. Another snipe out on this Nexus. That's going to die.
Yeah. Just Marauder drops. Marauder drops. Very powerful.
So
pick up and
strong.
get out. There's the classic MMA Medivacs.
Bye-bye.
Tempest trying to come into the mix, but they won't have a big impact in this game. Tempests are more so used than anything here to force engagements. Because, you know, in Terran versus Protoss, it usually comes down to neither player wanting to attack. Because the defending player is usually going to be set up more in a better position and is able to take the fight easier. But Tempest kind of stop that because obviously they put pressure on through their super large range. But look at 4 extra command centers.
All the command centers.
Yeah, it's unlimited scans basically.
All the barracks. All the production. It's such a fearful position to go up against the Terran when they set up this well.
Yeah.
Going to be very, very difficult for NightEnD to make anything happen, especially when his economy is absolutely shot.
Well, cloaked up, scanned, saw no observers, so why the hell not?
Yeah.
He's just gonna.
They're way out of position.
Oh, it's some juicy EMPs there.
That's the perfect EMPs.
Oh, everything's down.
Oh,
yeah.
GG.
Everything's down. Shields are down.
That was, yeah. Don't see an observer. Why not just run on in there and
unlimited scans, baby.
Yeah, very, very nicely done there by MMA in game number 1. But we have to give it to NightEnD. His opening and his beginning going into that game and his ability to deny the initial damage from those medevacs was very good. So all he has to do is take those fundamental bases that he has in the start of that game, translate them to a full game against MMA, and I think he'd be sitting all right.
Yeah, that's a decent start to today's games, especially the way that it started out. I thought we all expected to see a good game come out from NightEnD, and it was a good game. But now we're going to see probably a very, well, actually, I say a very different one. We will most likely see a different game here. It's Frost. Does kind of play out similar if the Protoss player wants to play it out similar. But does he try to change it up a little bit now? He's gone toe-to-toe with MMA, and he didn't win. Does the Protoss player now say to himself, NightEnD, so do I try what I just did again? Or do I try something to gain an advantage, which can be the Stargate, the Twilight Council, Fast Thirds, All-Ins?
I mean, one thing's for sure, it's always a really hard time going up against someone like MMA in your first game of the round of 32. So NightEnD, for the most part, probably, yes, has prepared very diligently and heavily for this series, but there was always a very real likelihood that he wasn't going to be able to advance from this game. So he's looking like long-term. He's looking at the other players in this group as well, and really kind of evaluating his position in general.
All right, well, I think MMA was probably, that was a decent warm-up game for him, expanding all the way up to like 20 command centers, being able to add on 1,000 barracks and just being able to produce and produce and produce. But a good game from MMA. Difficult to play his style on a map that big, which is the fast, aggressive, multiple drops and so on, especially with the Protoss player who has observers absolutely everywhere. But on a map like Frost now, this can be obviously a much smaller map. Reinforcements are going to get there much faster. We saw this streamline of units in the middle of the map. It takes a long time for those units to get into combat, but on a map this size, which isn't as big as Altazim, definitely could be a little bit different here. But I think for me, at least coming into this next map, is my eyes are going to be on NightEnD and what he's got planned, because I don't think MMA is going to change that much.
I don't think he needs to. Just play the same game straight out. He might not go third command center as quickly as he did in that one. He might go for triple barracks before third command center.
Yeah, I think maybe 5 barracks. MMA is that type of player to go up to 5 to really get a lot of units out there and drop. He's got a similar style, or I suppose we can look at it like Innovation plays a similar style to him being on the same team, where they like to go up to 5 barracks, like to put a bit of pressure on. But if NightEnD can weather that kind of pressure, then he'd find himself in a decent position if he can go into the mid to late game. But I think MMA is going to ramp it up a couple of gears, turn the throttle on.
Yeah, especially after just having, that's his first stint here. This is his, you've got to remember that this is his first WCS game of 2014 as well. He didn't have to play through Challenger. He was already qualified for Premier. So this is his first appearance in the Europe Premier League, and he's looking to dominate. He's looking to take another title. Let's face it, he's MMA.
Absolutely. He's back to the top. And when he was at the top last time, he was able to pick up 5 different StarCraft 2 championships in the period of like a year and a half. Yeah. Absolutely looking to do well this year.
All right, spawning up the top left-hand corner. Currently 1 game up, representing Team Acer. It is MMA. And down to the bottom left, we have our blue Protoss. It's Mr. Neurosoft's NightEnD.
I really like that Team Acer picked up MMA when he was at his weakest to a certain extent. Saw the potential in him, obviously knowing who he was, and MMA was finally able to give the reward back to Team Acer, and with the results and the climb up. Because remember that MMA story was round of 16 in Season 1, and we were like, oh, he's made it to the round of 16. Is MMA back? Question mark. That was a repeating question throughout Season 1 and Season 2. Yeah. Semi-final in Season 2, and then in Season 3 he was able to win it all. Closer and closer and closer towards the goal, and I know that that made him happy winning it, but I also know him, because we are quite friendly, he wants bigger than that. This guy's a GSL champion. This guy's a Blizzard Cup champion. This guy's a... he won in BlizzCon, the GSL then. So this guy wants bigger and better. Always has done. So even though winning Season 3 was great, it was... I think he was quoted a lot throughout that season. It was great, but it was also equally important to go to BlizzCon for him.
Yeah, it was.
And I'm sure that's going to be the same this year, that he's looking already at the end of the road. And we've seen how important it is to do well in these seasons, to be able to guarantee that spot to go through. And with a strong performance in Season 1 that I'm sure he's going to give, absolutely looking at the bigger picture here, looking for some big wins this year.
Very contested, though. Very, very contested with the likes of people like San now in the mix as well, who recently won himself a championship as well as all the regulars. You know, we got MVP there after seeing him blitz through his previous group. Obviously, the Boss Toss, who is decided in his mind that he is already the champion. He just needs to claim it. So this is going to be a very good season of WCS Europe.
And this is going to be a very good group today as well, because even though MMA played great, likewise did NightEnD. That was a long game.
That was a good game.
And he was able to keep up with MMA throughout it. So NightEnD I think there was a bit of a cloud of doubt around what his form would be today. But I'm pretty sure that would have changed a little bit, because that was a good performance in game number 1. And leading into game number 2, let's hope he can continue to bring it and maybe equalize this series up.
I mean, if he didn't get stung by that great concave that we saw MMA set up for that engagement, that game could have gone a completely different way.
Absolutely.
That was a really, really well set up concave there by MMA. And NightEnD did end up paying the price for it. But for now, the Nexus has been revealed here to MMA. And behind that, obviously, he's just going for his expansion. So
2 textbook builds. It's going to be a factory follow-up again here from MMA, but it is the Reaper expansion with the reactor on the barracks afterwards into factory, whereas it's just the 1 gateway Nexus, mothership core for protection against the Reaper, and of course to build up the energy into the second gas. But 1 probe down. I mean, it's nice if you don't lose a probe, but it's not terrible if you do lose a probe, because sometimes the Reaper and good Reaper control can get you that, especially when you skip the Stalker early on.
Yeah. And this matchup, you have Chrono Boost, which is nice to be able to get those probes out super quick. But all in all, you know, what's very, very interesting about all of this is that MMA, with this setup, he didn't really get a whole lot done with that Widow Mine last game, but we could certainly see something like that come out again.
Yep, he's going to do that. Reaper goes in again. Shouldn't chase that probe down and is going to escape. Now sees the Stalker, but also more importantly sees the Robo, so he knows what build he's playing against again. Compared to on the other side of the things, NightEnD late scout, not knowing anything, doesn't know if it is a barracks or factory follow-up after this Reaper play.
Where's the Forge? Where is the Forge? Because right now there is a clear lack of one, and the Reaper's going to come in. He's looking for that Forge. He's looking to say, I need to confirm that this is a standard build. There it is. Okay. So it does go down, but MMA is going to be trying to find that somehow. Good decisions and good positions here by NightEnD to be able to block that out.
Yeah, I mean, even with or without seeing the Forge, you shouldn't be too worried upon seeing the robotics facility. Just knows that there's not immediate any threat coming.
Yeah, especially with the opening he goes for, right? Since he has his starport already up and running, so he can transition on to anything that he would need.
A different approach, though, this time. It's not going to be the drop at the start, at least. It's actually moving across the map with 6 Marines and a Widow Mine. He's looking to see if he can maybe get the Widow Mine in a good position, which would isolate the Stalkers away from the Marines here. There is going to be a probe who scouted to the bottom right, top right, and then came back home. Obviously known his opponent was top left, didn't want to just sacrifice it, but it killed anyway.
At least it gives him a heads up in the end. As this army positioning itself on the perimeter of his opponent's base, and that observer's actually moving out into a location that will end up spotting that Widow Mine, so that's a good setup for him. He did spot it with the probe initially.
Yep. And there is a drop now ready, or at least the medivac ready. Widow Mine, there is an observer tracking this. I'm sure MMA probably would have spotted that.
Yeah, I think so. And these 2 Widow Mines do cause a bit of a threat.
Need to get rid of them.
Yeah, he does. There's Photon Overcharge. He actually picks up and goes straight in after the Photon Overcharge gets activated. A very, very clever move here.
There is a cannon, though, so nice deflection. And that's a good defense. But what has been delayed is tech. Obviously, throughout all of this, he was feeling a bit pressured. It's 200 gas late, the tech, and he's not in gas on the natural properly. So, yeah, that was a decent little harassment there, per se, because it did put pressure on NightEnD, who did slow down a little bit with his initial build. And overall, MMA is just looking to do what MMA does best. He's up 3 command centers now. Didn't go too greedy with third base, but has got that down. As you said, that might happen here. 3 barracks into command center, which is the more standard macro focus. And we see a pretty fast Twilight Council coming in here from NightEnD. He may be looking to do like a 1 Colossus switch.
Yeah.
Could be looking just to get Blink early on to support against a well-known player for his drops. And a scan does go down and reveals that immediately.
Very good scan. Very good scan. revealed absolutely every building that was being produced at that particular moment in time. So
yeah, so it's either going to be a one Colossus switch up into Templar Archives pretty fast to maybe force a lot of units out from your opponent. But I don't think NightEnD likes to play tricky like that. He's more of a standardized player, so it is just going to be Blink, which I think is a great addition into defending against MMA's multiple style drops.
And oddly enough, there was a Widow Mine down here, Burrow, but he actually retreated that out. So I guess he realized that his opponent was playing pretty Observer heavy and it wouldn't really do a whole lot in the end. And that's one cool thing that we're seeing from NightEnD, and not only NightEnD really, a lot of Terrans, sorry, a lot of Protoss is just super Observer heavy, super information focused, trying to deny what your Terran opponent's going to do.
And the Observer from NightEnD pokes in the main base, spots third command center. So upon spotting it finished like that, he knows that he doesn't need to play ultra defensive. He doesn't need to sit back on 2 base for super long, because if he does, then MMA is going to have a bigger economy, therefore a bigger production and bigger army. But that is actually pushing him out to take his third now, and at the same time we have double drops there from MMA. A bit of a counter move, but not really intended. But it is going to work out quite good for him here, I think.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit annoying to defend against. Right now, NightEnD doesn't have the huge army that he would necessarily require, but this drop on the left-hand side has been spotted. Yeah. One Marine pokes down here and does manage to spot the third.
He could maybe get some damage done with the other Medivac here. But it's good that he spotted one of them, and a scan says that, oh god, he's there with his Stalkers. And seeing that high Stalker count knows it's Blink Stalkers too. Yeah. But MMA did see the third at least. He's actually unloaded his units and maybe looking to get in there too. I wouldn't go too early. You're not going to get a cancel with 5 Marines. I would have waited until maybe the probes move down and then try to get the Widow Mine in or something like that, but you shouldn't be able to get too much done here.
Or you even place the Widow Mine on the high ground and wait for the probes to transfer to the mineral line and it actually connects with them from the high ground.
Yeah, that could have been a different way to play that. I don't think, I mean, he got 1 Stalker, I guess, but definitely could have played that differently. But whatever the case, he's going to double starport now, going to start to increase his Viking count. A little bit of a supply block while messing around with those 2 Medivacs. But overall, NightEnd's found himself with double Forge, can go up to 2-2, and Templar Archives all at the same time. That is quite gas intensive.
Yeah.
Which means his unit count isn't that high. He's only got 1 sentry with his army, for example. A high gas unit, 100 gas to build it, but with only 1 sentry. What happens if the units charge at the Colossus? You know, that's definitely a threat there to NightEnd's army. And therefore his army's weaker, but if he's able to keep going in this game the way that he's going and be untouched, then he becomes stronger.
He needs to compensate for the lack of sentry with, you know, a high zealot count and then getting charge out, which is would ideally be chrono boosted to just actually add on. But at the same time, I don't think he feels too under threat right now. He's just trying to deter the drops on left and right sides so that he can transition on to third base accordingly. But now he's pushing out into the middle of the map, his MMA.
Yeah, and he's got quite a high Viking count here, 6 again. And we remember the last game, 6 killed the 3 Colossus quite fast. But there are Stalkers, a lot more of them in this game. He needs to get rid of the Vikings in this fight. He needs to, first of all, identify that this army's even coming because he doesn't even know yet. Stalkers aren't far away. A scan. That will definitely tell NightEnD that he's close, obviously. Now he sees the army, so he's got to get everything together. Yeah,
sends a small chunk of that forward to try and pick that off. And now the Stalkers,
Vikings, Stalkers, Stalker control.
Needs to try and catch some, but then again, Fortune Overcharge will push them away for now.
Only a shield down on 1 Colossus, so he survives for now. A good round of units getting warped in. 2 High Templar. He's almost at Storm, only 60 seconds.
Ghost Academy's coming in a little bit earlier than last game, though, so he's anticipating his opponent's maneuver. Did he actually, I mean, did he spot the Templar Archives, or did he spot even the High Templars?
I don't think he's seen anything right now. He's just adding it on as a part of his build, which can be very common once you go up to 6 gases as Terran.
Yeah.
But right now, MMA didn't want to go in there upon Photon Overcharge and seeing the unit count. Maybe he wants to go in this time. Still at the same Viking count, higher unit count overall, but Storm is ready, and there's 4 High Templar. This isn't going to be an easy fight for MMA to take.
You've got to be careful about engaging here, MMA.
Nice blink.
This part of terrain, I do feel favors Protoss because of the positioning that Stalkers and Colossi can get on the high ground. Bio has a harder time chasing that down, and the Vikings will end up falling pretty quickly if he's not careful, and there you go. NightEnd's able to push that away.
Push 3 Vikings back and hardly lost anything of his own. Really good defense there by NightEnd, and he's also now reaping the benefits of being off 1 sentry for so long. He's reaping the benefits of the faster Templar Archives, as you see, this High Templar, reaping the benefits of having 2-2. Can start 3-3 now as well, which is the missing part of his structure, which now begins. Perfect so far from NightEnd, a really good game, and even has a pylon to the bottom right to spot these double Medivac drops.
They might go just a little bit far around. Oh no, he should be able to spot those. He gets the slight glimpse of them as they do divert for a second. But
And he does return back.
yeah, he knows. But again, gotta reiterate, taking a fight as a Terran over it, and that lip of the air of that lip of the third is very difficult if your Protoss opponent is set up. So now MMA here is going to have to play this out longer. He's going to have to climb on fourth because NightEnd is certainly doing that.
If you look at the units lost tab, this is a great situation for Protoss. The units lost tab, they just lost almost, I think it's L.
Oh yeah, that one.
It's almost, it's equal. And like, there's nothing that MMA's actually done to hurt NightEnd so far properly in this game. So it's a dream scenario for Protoss to go untouched for the first 60 minutes, 70 minutes of the game against MMA, remember.
Yeah.
This is a big, big win for NightEnd, who is getting up to his 200 supply mark. Remember how he was trailing for a lot of it in the previous game? Was 50 supply behind here, 30 supply, then he drew it up to 20 supply and was always behind. But look, they're equal when it comes to supply, and he has the upgrade advantage with 3-3 coming in. This is a good game from NightEnd, who's absolutely putting a clamp on here, saying, I can tie this up. But can he finish it? Because it's not over yet, of course. 4 command centers down for MMA. He's got... oh, there's no observers with the army again.
Oh,
and the
dear.
High Temple have been seen.
Oh, that's painful.
Goodbye, bros.
Ouch. Well,
And
they are going to
again,
fall.
the same mistake that he had that actually kicked him out the last
They were on
game.
full energy, every single one of them at so many storms.
Okay, so now obviously MMA is going to take a fight.
Yeah.
He's going to take a fight now. There's 2 High Templar that are on the third, which are coming down. They're going to try and help out. If they can land storms here... Oh, missed.
Catch a little bit of the Vikings once again. I think MMA really should be focusing a little bit more on the fourth base as
If he
opposed to
gets
this
rid
one.
of all the High Templars, this is going to be quite a landslide, I would imagine, with the Viking count being it is.
Yeah.
There's 1 High Templar there on the left. And it needs to
Certainly
get a
could be.
storm onto this.
And now the blink forwards once again on those Vikings, really exploiting that little bit of terrain over on the left-hand side. The Zealots
3-3,
charge
so
forwards.
close.
He's taking this fight at the perfect time in order to negate that, and the Colossi will end up falling for the majority. But at the same time, the Bio has to micro back because these Zealots just aren't dying that quickly.
3-3's done now.
Uh-oh, he blinks forwards, trying to catch some of the Medivacs. Does get one off of this. This Bio, it has to get out of there. NightEnd is winning this fight.
It's 146 supply. He's got a lot of money in the bank, and MMA's losing his Medivacs here.
You lose the Medivacs, and you have to replenish both Medivacs and Vikings. You're going to have a very hard time. And NightEnd's adding on 3 Stargates from here.
That's crazy.
He actually might go Phoenix. Like, I mean, he could go Fleet Beacon, obviously, and just go for the Tempest like he was planning to before. But also, I don't think Phoenix is too bad an idea against this. If you've reset your opponent's Medivac and Viking count, and you have an economy on 4 bases here.
Just like, what would you use the Phoenix for? Do you, like to continue to keep the Medivac and Viking count low?
Yeah, I mean,
You think he should be at double Robo then as well?
yes, yeah. If you kind of want to line everything up, that's very nice. But again, he could quite happily add on the Fleet Beacon because it seems like, again, he was trying to get onto the Tempest in the first game. He looked as if he felt comfortable with that kind of strategy. So we'll see what he wants to do.
All right. Well, 4th base down and comfortable for NightEnd. And MMA does know about it, of course, with his sensor tower there. Shields and +1 air weapons.
right.
Fleet Beacon thrown down here for NightEnd. Whew.
He does like his late game, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Really does. And this can be scary. Nukes are on the way for MMA. I guess that's one way to bring yourself back into it after losing a fight like that.
But he has given about three minutes, roughly, or more, to NightEnd just to max out again and rebank and set up his next part of his composition, which is going to be Tempest here.
Yeah. And it gives him a massive window. I mean, the Storms will hold these drops back. He's well defended on either location. The one... well, he's going to try and drop over here with triple Medivac.
Ooh,
and
nice
those feedbacks
reactions.
don't do a huge amount. There's good Storm as well as the feedbacks, but in the end, that Nexus is going to fall.
Yes, it shall.
Well, MMA is certainly keeping himself in it. That's for sure.
That was a good pick off there from MMA. Doesn't hurt as much as it would do if it was a lot earlier in this game because the money's got banked up. It's just a little hindrance to the income.
Yeah.
More so the gas income than anything. But, all right, so Starports, or Stargate, should I say, are ready. Where's that nuke?
It's over here.
Nice catch. Oh, that's nice, actually.
Yeah, that's a very annoying position.
Very difficult position.
High Templar. And gets out there. Does he get a probe?
Nope.
Nope. It was in the assimilator protects you from nuclear fallout, guaranteed. Wow. All right, another nuke on the way anyway. And it being in these positions, like both left, and both expanding to the middle, makes this game, to me, all the more tense. Because they are on each other's doorstep all the time.
Imagine Tempest firing across there too.
Yeah.
Tempest is so annoying to play against. So annoying.
As a Terran?
So annoying.
I don't know. I only play the Tempest side.
So annoying. You can't get to them, and they keep... As soon as your ghosts go in to snipe the High Templar or EMP anything...
They get sniped.
They die.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to play against. It's a really great addition to the Protoss army here. And you'll see that to effect here, because obviously as MMA, you scan ahead, High Templar may walk towards you, you move in, you try to snipe, but then your ghost gets killed. Another nuke here, and he's trying to move over there. He's trying to kill the ghost in time.
He actually could do.
Yeah, he does kill the ghost, but not in time. He's got to be careful here, not to... Well, this is a dangerous fight that NightEnd's taking.
Yeah, you can't engage Vikings over this bit of area unless you've got that good high Tempest count to rival that air dominance.
I definitely think the one thing that is missing from NightEnd in this game probably is you know, a couple of pylons on the right-hand side.
Did he just see that Tempest? When it...
looking.
Oh, well.
It's a strong army that MMA has here. And now we're going to see these Tempests used. But how well is MMA going to take the fight? There's the scan. There's the ghost moving forwards.
He sees that number of Tempests out here. Nice snipe out of that High Templar that was in the middle of the field, but he certainly has to be careful about an engagement now.
It's going to be... it would be nice to have an Oracle or something in this to try and get a revelation down and see if you can spot this army, or an Observer forward or something.
That's a good point.
There's an Observer being built.
But there's also 2 Ghost Academies and 2 nukes in production, so he's going to go up to 4 nukes soon here.
EMP's on the right.
Where are his Observers? He only has 1 and it's up to the top left-hand corner. So
he's rebuilding one now.
Yeah, he needs way more.
2 ghosts here. Look at these buddies. Oh, God. Oh, no.
They are cerebral assassins.
EMP.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nicely done. Really getting into the mind there of NightEnd. And, well, with that now, we still have MMA just stationed outside his opponent's bases. One thing's for sure is that NightEnd's going to have a harder time claiming a 5th base in this game at some point whenever he wants to. So MMA... with his higher mobility army, I would say, needs to be the one that's doing that eventually. But NightEnd does have Zealots up to the top left, top right even.
That's a really good nuke, by the way. There's 2 going on to the 3rd class. So I think the one that could get cleaned up, yeah, it gets cleaned up there. This one's going to be the bad one.
Yeah, he's actually not going to spot it.
At the same time.
Oh, that's so clever. Ah!
Kaboom!
Oh! Well, there you go. Bye-bye, probes. That was a lot of income lost. That was a lot of income lost. And now, wait, does he have probes anywhere else? Unit 45 probes to 66.
Yeah, he's got a lot of probes on his 4th. But MMA is going to start expanding around the map now. I'm just going to increase his income. And another...
Not going to stop, man. He's got 4 on the way. Not going to stop. It's Nuke City.
Oh, God. Where's the... He's got 1 on the 3rd again.
He's trying to kill a Nexus. Oh, there's probes transferring down.
Oh, MMA.
No.
Not more probes. Probes!
Oh, how many has he killed? That's like 45 workers almost exclusively with nukes.
Throughout all of this, there's like no harassment in the game. So it's pretty much... That is pretty much all the kills from those 2 nukes.
Yeah.
Wow. 45 probe kills and 2 nukes.
Well, I didn't expect us to be seeing nukes today, I must admit. But there you go. There's another ghost moving over to the left-hand side. He might actually nuke into the... Wait, where's he nuking?
Down here again. Oh, God.
Why do I keep doing that?
There's more probes going down.
Is there really?
There's 5 more probes going to their death. This is...
Oh,
okay, now he sees. He's like, okay, not again.
Fool me twice. Shame on me. All right. Okay, anyway. So, another nuke.
He's going to bring this down one
He's
time.
He's actually going to kill a Nexus with multiple nukes.
There's a Zealot charging. He's like, I will save you!
Fire!
Nope. Not going to happen. And the High Templar dies too.
Oh, yes, full energy.
Oh.
Well, I guess that happened. And there's another nuke over here. Jeez, MMA.
Well, this is really funny because this is, you know how I talked about at this point of the game? This is where both players will sit back and the Tempest guy will be like, all right, come to me. I'm going to force the fights. But MMA's playing...
Wait. No. He doesn't have an observer. Ah! Okay, that did a lot of damage. Thank you, Facebook, wherever that was. But that was bizarre. Where are his observers? It's over here. Sean, what is going on?
I don't know where that Facebook message came from.
I think it was me, and I can't do anything about it. I'm sorry.
All right, it's okay.
It's again. Please, no. Please.
It didn't do that much damage.
No, it didn't. I mean, it hit all the big units, the chunky units, and they do move away from this, but this is madness.
This is...
He has 3... He's never going to stop.
Yeah, I think he'll kill this Nexus down at the bottom right now.
This one's gone.
But this is funny because this is putting NightEnd in a position where he might just go attack soon. Like, he's losing everything.
Or make some observers. Cannons. That'd be nice.
Well, he's killed that Nexus now.
Bye-bye.
MMA.
Was there another nuke just then?
And how many Vikings? This guy's got 25 Vikings.
Oh my god. Well, I guess that's what you need. There's going to be another on the natural. He's like, right, I've killed your third. It's time to start working on your natural. Oh, dear me. NightEnD looks lost. Like, he's actually not being able to deal with this.
Well,
There's the observer.
It's too late. This is natural.
Oh, man.
He's got 14 probes left.
He's killed 75 workers pretty much only with nukes.
While expanding to the other side of the map and taking all these bases.
Oh, my God.
MMA,
there's
two more ghosts on the left-hand side now. Are going to actually double team this.
Oh, wow. The double nuke.
The double team. And this, I think it may just die. I'm not sure exactly. I don't use nukes a lot. I think it may die. Double nukes?
I think it just barely survives. We'll see. I think it's like 300 damage each, right, to buildings? Oh, no, it died.
Yeah.
I can't remember how much it is. Again, we don't really cast nukes that much.
He's killed 2 Nexus, 75 probes with just nukes running around.
I'm so impressed.
And he's going to do it again in the left-hand side. Oh, no, maybe not this time. Maybe. Good God. Imagine if MMA still loses the fight and loses the game. Imagine that.
That would be amazing.
Just imagine that. Imagine that, Terran players.
I mean, this army is very strong. Let's not like discredit that and not say that NightEnD hasn't built up a fantastic army, because it is good.
He's going to fight now, and he's got a very high army supply because he's lost all his probes.
Yeah, 176.
It's like 176 army supply out of a capable 200 supply.
That's pretty crazy.
That's massively big.
There's an Oracle on the way for a revelation.
Well, he's getting nuked on the natural again. This time his units get out of the way, but...
Zealots like, come with me, brothers.
All right. So the army gets EMP'd in the middle a little bit there.
Still has energy for storms, though, so very, very important.
Turrets, planetary fortress, and MMA's like, come on, come fight me.
And still dropping nukes.
He's going to get the 2 cannons now.
All right, so might catch a few probes with that. So he's down to 13 workers. He absolutely has to do something. This army for NightEnD has to win him the game. It's very strong, though. It's very, very strong.
Yeah, it's one army to win it all here. There's no rebuilding. There's nothing like that. It's one big fight, get momentum, go kill him, because you can't do anything else. MMA is going to take a fight on the other side of the map, which is smart, because that means that his reinforcements get time to build up a little bit by the time that Protoss goes over there.
Those ghosts are moving forward here with the army also stimming, looking for the chase. Time Warp does go down, delaying that a lot. Oh, those Vikings, they're so clumped up. I'm really scared for the storms. They're actually doing quite a lot of damage to those Vikings. If he loses all of those Vikings, this could be a catastrophe. Also, great storms here by NightEnD, actually killing off a huge, huge portion of this. And now all is down is towards Bio. But now, you mentioned it rightly, he can replenish over the left-hand side.
And it is planetary fortresses and turrets and nukes defensively, I would imagine. So there is this opportunity where MMA can rebuild up, but he lost all his gas. Like, he doesn't have any gas because he hasn't been really mining that much on the other side of the map. And there is momentum right now for a NightEnD to break through. But can he break through the planetary fortresses?
His army's strong.
Does this give MMA enough time to reinforce?
He has some energy on the high Templars for storms on SCVs if they were to try and repair this wall, this bunkered off location. But now with this, MMA all he has to do is try and somehow max out once again.
Yeah, Marines suck at this end game as well, and that's all he can really build because he's so low. And the army supply difference between the two of them still in favor of NightEnD.
Totally gas-starved. How are you actually supposed to deal with this if you are gas-starved? I mean, yes, he's getting on the Vikings.
You shouldn't be gas-starved.
He's going to try and hold on as best he can do, but this army from NightEnD is super strong. It has +2 shields as well, let's not forget. That's also benefiting the Tempests.
He's broken the front door now. He's going to try and land a nuke here, but it's going to die off in time. And NightEnd's pushing through. He may find a victory here, but the Viking count's back up to, I don't know, like 15, 16 already. There is one ghost there as well. But it's a bunch, even if, let's say, all the Colossus die, how can you kill Zealot, Archon, and Storm with just all these Marines and Marauders? I think that's still hard.
Yeah.
NightEnD may be able to do this, but great micro from MMA. Coming on the right-hand side. Picks off one of the Tempests with his Vikings.
Anything he can get. Dancing back and forth is going to be really, really good here for MMA, who has floated, you know, a little bit of this away from him. And also establishing a lot on the right-hand side as well.
He needs to keep these Colossus alive, ideally.
Yeah.
Because they will just win the game.
And he's going to try. He turns around for the Vikings. The Vikings, though, all MMA has to do against this army is keep those Vikings away from Storm.
Well, look at the supply difference. MMA's bought himself a lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of time. But a lot of it's Marines.
And this is a very clumpy area. One cloak goes in, no observer again.
Oh,
and goodbye Storms.
EMP.
Goodbye Storms. And now MMA will go, And he'll get rid of the Colossus, then there's no splash damage, and the MMA's going to get this.
Zealots and Archons can't really do a whole lot against this, and you're right, that one EMP on those High Templars, absolutely perfect execution there. GG, MMA takes the series 2-0, but what a series to start us off.
Oof, yeah, I didn't really expect that type of series. Game 1 long, game 2 long between these two players, and, well, NightEnD definitely showed us that he's playing well today, but MMA is on form and on fire.
Yeah, and again, we weren't really expecting this kind of heavy nuke harassment style coming out from MMA, who NightEnD, unfortunately for him, just kind of looked lost in terms of dealing with it. The replenishment of observers wasn't there, or cannons in good positions to try and shut that down, and unfortunately for him, fell to it.
Yeah, that was a good series. Enjoyable start to this one, and now MMA does move through to the winners match. So he only has to play one more game today, and then if he wins that one, he's into the round of 16 as our first to advance on. That scared me a little bit there. But, of course, we do have the second game coming up in a couple of moments.
Yep, we do. So we are going to go to a short break in just a little bit here, guys. And then when we're back, we'll have our second series of the day in WCS Europe. It's going to be Wellmu going up against StarCraft.